Good afternoon to you. It is Sunday, November 3rd at 2:15. In case you missed it, Jay dropped his thoughts, his post-game thoughts on everybody right here on YouTube, kind of, yesterday after the game. So if you haven't checked that out, please do it. He did a good job. He's handsome. Lovely, some would say. Before I dig into anything, I want to thank our sponsors. Thanks to Homefield Apparel. Head over to homefieldapparel.com, enter Boiled25 at checkout to get 15% off. Check out the Platinum Packs. Check out the retro jackets, the coaches jackets. All that stuff's fun. It's great. Also, when you're at Purdue and you're frustrated because Purdue can't close out a game that looks like they should, you'll head down away from Ross-Ade, head towards the fire station, take a hard left. You'll see the glowing blue lights. You'll see the beautiful people inside. That's AJ's. Eatajs.com if you want to get something, order ahead. Inside, you'll find huggable staff. Not all of them. Don't hug everybody. But I can tell you, Adam is very huggable. Specifically, so is Jake. Eatajs.com, burgers, beef, beer. That's AJ's. AJ's by the fire station. So I got a couple points. I'm just going to get these off my chest real quickly. My lighting's not even right. It's not on correctly. But I have to do a literal QuickCast because I have something I have to get to this afternoon, but I wanted to drop some thoughts. First one, okay, I'll go quick. Ross-Ade crowd was great again. Purdue heading into that game was on a what? Is that a 6-game losing streak? They won in 6, won in 7. It really doesn't matter right now. I think they're on a 6-game losing streak, and they added to it. If you look at the Cobra stats, had some pretty sad things talking about the worst losing streaks in the history of the program. A guy my age remembers 12 or 13 of those seasons, and that's hard. That's tough medicine. But Purdue is surely going to add to that streak next week in Columbus. They're on Big Noon Saturday, so you get to watch it on national TV. Yikes. So that's not great. But, yeah, losing streak continues. The students were honest, let's say that. If you didn't catch us on TV, they booed the play calling. They did not boo the team, I don't think. That's not the way I took it. They booed the play calling. The offensive play calling was pretty lousy, especially in the second quarter as Purdue kind of floundered around. They also started a chant late in the game that was anti-Coach Walters. If you missed that on TV, it happened. But the Ross-Ade crowd, again, was passionate, was loud. You don't want them to get to apathetic, Mike. You don't want that to happen. But it'll happen soon if we're not careful. So Ross-Ade crowd was great, though, in spite of the fact the season has been such a struggle. Next, running struggles. Purdue could not run the ball, averaged under 3 yards a carry yesterday. Maccabee didn't get enough looks. Maccabee had a great run to finish a drive. Maccabee only carried the ball 10 times. He wasn't super effective, 2.3 yards or something like that per carry. But you got to find ways to get the ball in your playmakers' hands. And, of course, the offensive scheme didn't do it. Maccabee got 1 reception, 10 carries. That's pretty egregious to me. On the positive side, the wide receivers were great. A lot of people have given the wide receiver core a hard time this season. The wide receivers were excellent, I would say. And I haven't reviewed the tape. Not going to do that. Not going to go lean on that. I can tell you this much. I was in a mini Purdue football depression following the game, meaning I didn't want to watch post-game thoughts. I didn't want to hear about it. I didn't want to think about it. I waited till today, Sunday, to listen to Jay's thoughts. I still have more to review, and I'm going to review more, but I haven't done it yet. But one thing I can say is I really, really love the way the receivers played. Edrin going up in coverage to get the jump ball to finish off the drive. Rigby's touchdown, of course, was awesome. And then Tibbs had that one drive. I actually had multiple drives where his route running to me has risen. He's gotten better this season. He's catching, especially the improvement from where he was at the beginning of the season. He looks great. And of course, Maximum Claire continues to do what he's done. So the receivers looked really, really solid. I think that's a big something to build on, if you will. Let's see. Here's one thing. Purdue went into overtime. This is a lot like the Illinois game. My buddy Handel Jones was talking to me earlier. He said, one thing, Purdue goes into overtime twice this season, but in both games they were down by a lot, which means they came into the game really not motivated, or the scheme wasn't right, or preparation wasn't right. So if you want to look at it bad, you could say that. If you want to look at positive, you could say, wow, they made adjustments and they worked. The problem is Northwestern was down their leading receiver and their leading tackler, and it didn't matter. They were just slicing through Purdue. Purdue could do nothing to stop them. Really, really lousy start to that game. And Jake talked about the defense really playing well, holding the team to 20 points. It's a good point. But in that first half, the running, sprinting start that Northwestern got has to be taken into account. So that's lousy. Purdue fights, they clawed, they did everything they could to try to win the game, to come from behind and do it. And couldn't finish well. That last minute 44 in regulation, going into overtime, some of the worst play calling we've seen in about a decade at Purdue, if we're being real honest. So that's tough to swallow. And finally, I think the bloom is off the rose is my final point. And what I mean by this is there's an indicator, there's a barometer out there, of course, if you've been around Purdue for a while. If tickets start falling into your lap, this is an indicator that maybe the fan base is cooling a little bit. Like I said, the amount of fans that showed up and the way they showed up was great. But still, a lot of people bought tickets and had no intention to go into that game. This is that apathy part setting in. And the other way is you look at parking. Parking was available. So if you look at if Mike Babinski is looking for indicators of how he's going to move forward, because he talked about this in that article, he blamed the NIL situation, which I think is poor revisionist history, said that we need to give more to NIL. I don't think that's the case. I think Purdue's roster is plenty talented, especially to win more games than they have. Let's be real honest. But what's the goal? That's the question. Do you want to be with the elite? Do you want to be with Ohio State and Oregon and pay $25 million a year? That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And all the rules are going to change. I don't know if this was a smokescreen set up by Babinski to just say, hey, there are things we can do better, but it's not on Walters. Regardless of the case, there's got to be more accountability on Walters, regardless. And we'll see what happens. But I can tell you this much. I'm ready to release my people that I want to see talk to in the coaching search. I probably will do that, if not to Monday in the Handsome Hour. We're going to have a very cool, I think, dual use Handsome Hour. We're going to have a post game and a post basketball game versus Texas Corpus Christi, not crispy. And then we're going to do a little football thoughts. And I'm ready to talk about my probably top 5 coaching candidates, because I think it's time to do that after this game. I said I would do it, and I promise I'll do it during that Handsome Hour. So that'll be Monday at like 8:30, not 9 o'clock, because we're going to do dual use. Boiler Bugles here says Dowd in the Sunday best. Yeah, that's exactly right. Still just a little bit more sharp than you see me. Not a slouchy hoodie this time, a quarter zip and a very, very well pressed shirt. Appreciate you noticing. Andy Day says excited to hear your thoughts about today. Yeah, they're going to be fast because I've got something I got to get to, and I'm really on the clock. So I appreciate that, Andy. And then Tim Eaton says the last 3 games should be about a combined score of 150 to 30, and that's no joke. IU will especially want to pay us back for running it up. Yeah, so Ohio State's favored by 38.5. We can start there. And I think you got Michigan State next, and then you come back home to the friendly confines to play Penn State, who will not be merciful. And then you've got IU, and Cignetti isn't merciful on anybody. I've been saying it all season. The way they finish games, their fourth quarters are incredible. They are a really, really resolute, focused team, and they have no time for taking it easy on teams. I think 150 to 30 might be shy. You got to move the ball on teams, right? Michigan State is a pretty solid defensive team. That's the one I think Purdue fans might say, hey, maybe there's a chance to compete in that one. Not so fast, my friend. Michigan State is getting better as the season goes on. Isaac Waldrop says 30 being generous. Yeah, it might be. I tend to agree. Purdue is showing, like I said in that game, Purdue's warts really came out. I think I tweeted this out. Purdue's warts really came out in that last minute 40 into overtime. All the problems that we've seen, the lack of, Jay called it correctly, the lack of organization, the lack of thoughtfulness by the coaches, the lack of understanding in the situation by the coaches was incredible and noteworthy and pretty damning. Just all around, the coaching staff looked in over their head. It's not a new thing. but it really showed itself, and it showed itself at a bad time. Purdue could have and should have won that game. Purdue had all the momentum in the world, and maybe that's why he went for it on that fourth down. But regardless, coming away with no points in a college overtime, it's kind of schools out, right? The other thing I would love for some of the Purdue coaching staff to understand, the running back is eligible out of the backfield. He is eligible to catch passes. How many times do we see that safety valve open up, and not just open up like a little bit? There was nobody near him. Nobody near him. That the guy who looked like he's built like me. That's not a great compliment, but would get the ball outside the flat, just a little bit up the field, and tear off 15 yards a pop. Seemed pretty simple in that closing minutes of the game. That was killer to watch. As a fan, that's the stuff that just rips your heart out. You're like, what the hell is going on, right? So I'm still a little frustrated on it the next day. You probably are too. And if you are frustrated, I say that's a positive. Like I said, you don't want apathy to get into the bones, and we're close to that happening. Purdue probably, according to Cobra Stats, go check out that retweet or check out his Twitter. Check it out. Purdue is really, really, I think they're in a position they could set that record of most losses in a row ever. And like I said, if you're my age, you remember many of those seasons where they had the long losing streaks. It's a damn shame that we've seen so many of these, but another one is already upon us. And how bad it gets is really the question at this point. Ancient Astronaut says, I really don't even want to watch the Ohio State game. And this is what Jay talked about, that apathy of doing other things during the game, yard work, going out to a fall festival, taking the kids someplace. That's nice. That's good. Be a good dad, be a good mom. But doing anything but watching the game, just looking for an excuse, you're not alone. Ancient Astronaut, you are not alone. And it is a shame, though, we're seeing that happen to more and more Purdue fans. I would bet that Penn State game, there are going to be some tickets that become available for a lot of people. Again, that barometer is there. It is real. Good friend of mine, at the end of the game, he was carrying his Penn State game ticket with him, and he said, all right, I'm done. Who wants this ticket? And he just gave it to somebody in our group. It's a bad sign. It's a very bad sign. Alex Drick says, Ohio State game on Fox, whole country. See, yep, big noon Saturday, noon o'clock, as we like to say in the business. Nobody says that. Nolan Klutsky says, I'm blown away that we continue to play our senior quarterback with 4 games of college football left as over a freshman who had his best half of football, especially with how this season has been going. The situational awareness isn't limited to there, but I understand what you're saying. Card is not the problem. Card's not the problem, but I see what you're saying. I'd like to see some Davila, because you can say play him, and we can see he still could redshirt. He still could redshirt, but I understand your point. I just don't know if that's the place where I put most of my angst. I understand what you're saying, but I don't. There's so many other things to be critical of. Chris Felt says, I hope it stays this bad as it sounds. That's the way coach gets out. Clearly it isn't working. This is a hard thing for me to swallow, Chris, and to be real honest. I don't like this type of sentiment. It's okay. I understand what you're saying. What you're done with this era, and you're not alone. I'd like to see him win out, and I'd like to see the train turned around or the boat turned around, whatever. It sure as hell doesn't feel like that's going to happen. So that's about it from me. I hope you have a great Sunday afternoon. Looks like it might rain here in central Indiana. But definitely improved over the 35 degrees that we had yesterday. So that's nice. Have a great day. God bless you. We'll see you. Hammer down. And it's okay to stay a little bit upset about this. Let's not get to apathy if we can avoid it. And once again, Handsome Hour, 8:30 on Monday. Hope to see you there. God bless you.